Hi everyone, Lo-Fi Noah here, and I want to talk about my favorite character in Genshin Impact, Rosalia. Now, I've been playing Rosalia as a main DPS since she launched, really, since she was dropped on the first banner all the way up to now. And I feel comfortable now coming out with a video for you guys about what to run on her, how should you play her, and the artifacts and what talents you should level up. So with further ado, I'm gonna get to explain that for you guys. Okay, first things first, guys, I want to go ahead and break down her talents. Everyone and their grandma should understand how talents work, but if they don't, then guess what? I'm just here to simplify it for you so you guys can basically get an understanding of it real quick. So, first things first is going to be her normal attacks. Pretty self-explanatory. Just spam your whatever key that you use to attack. You want to level this up because obviously you're making her as a main DPS. That's why you clicked on the video. The next thing is her Ravishing Confession. Basically makes it to where that whenever you push your elemental skill, you will dash or teleport behind the enemy and do a slash. Now the only time this does not work is when there is a big enemy. You still will teleport to the enemy, but you will not teleport behind them. Okay, and keep in mind when you do teleport behind an enemy because this plays a factor. Then finally, her elemental burst basically drops down an anchor and it does a tip. And if you have her constellation, one of her constellations is longer. If you don't, it still does good damage as cryo damage. Now, let's get into our passives real quick. This is why I said that you should keep that in mind whenever you teleport behind somebody, because every time you do that, you will get crit rate. You will get 12% of crit rate for 5 seconds. Okay, that passive will always activate every single time that you teleport behind the enemy. Is where things get interesting for Rosalia, especially for a main DPS and some support. But since we're a main DPS here, I'm gonna mostly focus on that part. So with this passive talent, every time that you drop down your ult, you will increase your party crit rate for 15% of Rosalia's own crit rate. Now this still benefits Rosalia even though you're playing as a main DPS, because let's just say that your supports don't have enough crit rate and whatnot, then guess what? Once you drop down that ult, it will transfer over to any character in your party but Rosalia to give them increased crit rate. So you don't have to really have the greatest crit rate on your supports, because at the end of the day, Rosalia is still gonna give them that support when it comes down to that department. Now, her final passive that she has is not really going to benefit you any type of way, but basically it just makes it to where that at the night you just get to run fast. Pretty much it. To give a quick summary on her constellations real quick, because obviously someone is going to be wondering what constellations you're going to need for Rosalia. 1 and 6. Those two are the only ones that really benefit you at all as a main DPS Rosalia. Constellation 1 basically just makes it to where whenever you do crit hits, you get attack speed as well as normal attack damage for 10% for 4 seconds. And then her Constellation 6, every time you drop down her ult, she does 20% physical damage resist. Really it. So Constellation 2, 3, 4, and 5 really help her support capabilities. So now when it comes down to artifacts, Rosalia only has really 2 builds for her, and her best in slot build for her will be Pale Flame. Okay, and the reason why is the 4-piece. What this does is basically whenever you use your element skill and it hits an opponent, okay, your attack is increased by 9 seconds and the duration only lasts for 7 seconds. This stacks up to 2 times and can be triggered once every 0.3 seconds. Once 2 stacks are reached, the 2 set effect is increased by 100%. Now, basically what this means is you have to get 2 stacks. So you have to make sure that you use your element skill twice in order for this 4-piece to start working. Now, once you get this element skill, once you use your element skill twice and you hit an opponent, then this 4-piece starts to shine and it gives you more physical damage. Okay, because the 2-piece gives you 25%, but on the 4-piece that scales that by 100%, so you get double the amount of physical damage, and on top of that you get attack percent increase as well for 7 seconds. Now, does this work on Rosalia? Yes, this works on Rosalia because her element skill is 6 seconds. So the only problem that a lot of people have with Pale Flame is the fact that since her element skill is 6 seconds and the duration on that 4-piece is 7 seconds, a lot of people don't want to micromanage that second, which I understand completely. Or two, you might just have better ratio or better luck on your on your 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece Bloodstain than your 4-piece Pale Flame. So both builds will work on her, but the thing is though, her Pale Flame 4-piece will always do better damage, and the reason why is because of the attack percent increase that you get. Okay, you just basically get the 50% physical damage from the 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece Bloodstain, but with Pale Flame you get that, and on top of that, increased attack percent. So I would rather take that over the 2-piece Pale Flame and Bloodstain, but I have ran both, and me personally, I like the Pale Flame more, just gives me more. Okay, but sometimes if I don't want to micromanage, I always swap, because there's nothing wrong with using either or. But just remember that on Pale Flame, you have that, you got to remember, hey, every time that my element skills off cooldown, use it. Okay, if you don't, you miss out on ton of damage, you lose out, and it drops your damage. So just remember that. Now, her weapons. Rosalia best in slot weapon will be her Crescent Pike at any refinements. Okay, the reason why this weapon just outdoes every spear is, one, you get increased physical damage. Okay, two, you also get the passive that you get on the Crescent Pike, what makes it so strong. Okay, now really deep down, whenever you use Crescent Pike, you want to just auto attack. That's the one thing I dislike about Crescent Pike. I love the charge attack, but there's no good physical damage weapon that gives me more to charge attack than just attack. And if you're wondering about the Dragonspane, yes, you do get a lot of physical damage, but the passive that you get on it does not benefit you enough, and it will be a waste. And two, almost every other weapon will outshine that, even though it has more physical damage, which is kind of weird. But it just goes to show that really deep down, that Dragonspane weapon is not great. Not only that, when the crystal is formed, if that crystal misses the opponent, then you like lose out on a ton of damage. Plus the time or the cooldown of that passive is like pretty long. So I would say 100% go with any other weapon besides Dragonspane, even though it does have physical damage bonus, and yes, your numbers will look big, but in all reality, it's really just better to go for anything else. Okay, so her next in-slot weapon that I would say to run if you don't want to use Crescent Pike will be either the Jade Spear or the Staff of Homa. The reason why is because both of these helps your ratios, as well as Jade Spear gives you that attack percent, which benefits you heavily, and the Staff of Homa, you can run it at a low percent or don't, but guess what? You still do a ton of damage. Okay, those spears are like the best, I guess, non-budget free-to-play person. Okay, if you're being a budget player, then I would recommend the Deathmatch to you, or the Black Cliff Spear. Both of those do the same thing as Jade Spear, but their passive are just slightly different. Of course, Deathmatch, if you don't have a lot of crit rate, run Deathmatch. Black Cliff, if you don't have enough crit damage, run that. But overall, the Crescent Pike will always do more damage than any other spear when it comes down to the physical damage department. Okay, so your best in slot out of anything will be Crescent Pike, even at Refinement 1, which is pretty crazy. Okay, like it takes, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong here, you have to at least have like Refinement 4 or 5 to really outshine a Crescent Pike if you're running a Jade Spear. You gotta have, I think, 1 to 2 or 3 refinements on a Staff of Homa to outshine it, and the Black Cliff and Deathmatch is falling behind even at refinement 4 and 5. So even then, your best in slot would be Crescent Pike hands down, no matter what. So it's really just better to run the Crescent Pike, or unless you just need the better ratio or you need like career and crit damage, run any other weapon besides that. Team comps that you can run on Rosalia is one that I recommend for a person that doesn't have like a lot of 5 stars will be Rosalia official, Zhongli. If you do not have him, then I will say a Diona, and then finally any other character that can buff really, so maybe like a Bennett or maybe a Xingqiu. Okay, now if you have more 5 stars to really run, I would probably recommend that you will run Raiden Shogun with Zhongli, and then plus with Mona. This team, and I got another team that I like to run as well. I like to change out Mona for Albedo. And so I run her with run Rosalia, Raiden Shogun, Zhongli, and Albedo. This is my favorite team to run all the way around because one, I like playing with Geo. I'm a Geo person as well, so because of that, I just love to put Albedo and Zhongli put together, and Raiden Shogun and Rosalia will be my superconduct. Zhongli provides that extra resistance that he gives with the shield, and then of course Albedo gives me that extra damage on the side. So you can even run a physical damage team with Jean. Jean, and you can actually replace your Zhongli with any other character. And the reason why, once you have Constellation 6 Rosalia, you don't need a whole lot of physical damage resistance, okay? Because her ult gives you 20, the superconduct gives you a portion of that. Plus, if you are running a Zhongli, you get more taken away. But I think at that point, I think you're running too much, if I remember correctly. But you can pretty much swap out Zhongli with any other character if you happen to have Rosalia at C6. If you don't, however, have Rosalia at C6, then you probably want to add another person that can take off some physical damage resistance, because I mean you want to make sure that the enemy has 0 to none at this point. You want to get the best high numbers that you can. Okay, if you're trying to run Rosalia with Jean, I've gone to a tangent about that part.
Need to end a few enemies.
I would probably recommend going Rosalia, Raiden Shogun, Tartaglia, and Jean. Of course, if you do not have 3 of the 5 stars that I said, you can easily change Shogun out with Fischl, Tartaglia with Xingqiu, and Jean with Sucrose. Now, if you have a Kazuha, I would definitely put Kazuha here, and I will run him with Zhongli. Change Tartaglia out and put Zhongli here. That right there will be the best in slot team that I will also run. But since I don't have him, then I run everything else. Okay, but the best team in my eyes would be Zhongli and Albedo.
Let's investigate this further.
Just love the Geo and plus the Superconduct though. Those teams or those elements are my favorite thing to run. So, my final thoughts on Rosalia. Was it really worth making her as a main DPS? And I've been playing her like this since she was first released on Chow's rerun banner, if I remember correctly. Or Chow's banner. No, not really. It's not really all that worth it. But why do I play her like this? I'm a simp, okay, first off. And second of all, I love playing Rosalia. She's not fixed in like a role. Okay, you don't have to set her up into where, okay, I must play her as a main DPS or I must play her as a support. You could play her any way. I mean, don't get me wrong, with Genshin Impact, yes, you can say that all for almost for any character. But let's really be real here. Some characters really just fit in the support role, and some characters fit in the main DPS role. Okay, her damage is not the highest on, if we're talking about all these spear characters, her damage is not as high as Zhao's, but it's not as low as any other spear character. She literally has the highest damage out of everyone except Zhao. Okay, and her nuke also, and we're talking about physical damage now, it's not the highest or it's not the greatest like a Lula's. She's just fixed or made to be like a main DPS carry. So for Rosalia, she's kind of in between. She comes off as like a support slash main slash crit buffer and all of that. So like she has a lot of different titles on top of her besides just being labeled as a support. And for me playing her for this long and still playing her like this to this day, I enjoy it. And even now, I will probably get on Rosalia before I play Ilula, or I will probably play my Rosalia physical damage build before I play Ilula. And so with that being said, I just find this enjoyment. I'm not looking for a character to be the greatest. I'm not looking for her to like do the highest damage. Well, what I am looking for is just fun. And for me personally, that's what I find in Rosalia. I find that I am a big fan of the goth mama. Okay, I love her, how she looks, her aesthetics, and everything about Rosalia in general. But I had to put that aside to really showcase her as the character, because I could sit here and all day talk about why she's the greatest. But realistically, I know she's not the biggest damage dealer, and that's okay. But instead, she's the best character to me in my eyes. So really this video was just made for me and to have fun with my favorite character that I play the most. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I catch you guys later. Peace.